All right, hey, still here in the bean hole, still talking about duck food. So we talked a little bit about corn, we talked a little bit about rice. Let's talk a little bit about millet and some different options you have there. And then quick at the end, I'll mention a couple things I don't really know anything about. But millet, and more specifically for us in the duck hunting world, is Japanese millet. I'm sure many of you have heard of people throwing out Japanese millet, or Jap millet as some call it. And it can produce ducks. I have seen wood ducks pile into it, just pretty much fighting each other to get to it. So it is a great food producer. As far as our duck use days, and if you're not familiar with the duck use day, go back and watch my episode on corn and or growing rice, and I'll explain what a duck use day is to you. But millet lags behind pretty significantly in the duck use days category, whereas the rice and corn were 25 to almost 30,000 duck use days. Millet is just about 3,200, give or take, depending on how well it grows. So, that's a significant, almost 30,000 to just over 3,000. That's like an order of magnitude, about a tenfold decrease. So, a little bit of a con there, but maybe offset by the pro that it is very easy to grow. Very, very easy to grow. I can't overstate that, I don't think. And ducks love it. I've never heard of anybody saying that they planted millet and ducks wouldn't eat it. I guess if you're in a spot where ducks don't live, they won't eat it. But if ducks are flying over, they find your millet, they're probably going to come have some lunch. One other con for it is it doesn't last long once it gets flooded. Either the ducks eat it out really quick, or it just rots. I know the stems themselves will fall over pretty quick and start to rot. And the seeds are so small, I couldn't see them in the water if they were there anyway. But at least the reports I've read said that it does tend to rot faster, certainly than rice. Probably not as fast as soybeans. Well, nothing rots as fast as soybeans, but so it will rot. It may not, if you flood it in October, it may not be there in January, right? But who knows, right? It still could be there. If you got a bunch of it, maybe it'll still hang around. What are some of the other pros and cons? It's easy to plant. Produces tasty duck food. I think that gets it pretty good. It's affordable, about $50 a bag. If you've got to pay shipping, it can get more expensive because it's expensive to ship 50 pounds of anything. But if you got a local place that supplies it, I would check them out. It's very easy to grow. It'll grow quick. It will mature quickly. So if you're under the gun, if you need to get something producing seeds quickly, maybe you're already into August and you're in the southern part of the country, you can probably still plant some Japanese millet and get away with it. Get something produced before duck season gets here. Whereas with something like a corn or most varieties of rice, that's probably not going to be the case, right? You've missed the window for planting those guys. There are multiple varieties of millet out there you can choose from. As I mentioned, Japanese millet is probably one of the most well-known. It will very happily grow in this mucky, muddy environment around me. It will even tolerate a shallow flood. So it does very, very well in those kinds of conditions. A new one that I believe was developed out in Arkansas specifically for duck hunting is golden millet. Now, it's not the same as like the German golden millet, which has been around for a long time. Golden millet. And I think if you go to like goldenmilletseedcompany.com or something like that, you'll find it. It's a little harder to come by. Max Prairie Wings carries it. You can mail order it, and they have a list on the Golden Millet website of where their agents are, where you can purchase it from. But the reports on it was bred to be fast maturing, so maybe even faster than 60 days. I don't know. I don't think they published a date, but fast maturing, high yield. It's supposed to produce more seeds than the Japanese millet. And from what I've been told from some of you guys that are following along, it actually tolerates a flood even better than Japanese millet. People say just as good as rice. So that could be advantageous as well. What you want to avoid, in my opinion, is brown top millet. Certainly if you're in a place like this where it has a potential for staying pretty mucky, brown top millet really likes well-drained soils much more than the Japanese and golden millet do. Now it's nice, it's great for a dove field that's maybe up a hill and doesn't get flooded out. But for duck hunting, I don't think it does very well. I planted some 2 years ago it got wet and died. So I got nothing out of it, right? But that Japanese millet will thrive in that kind of environment. So there's the thoughts on that. A couple of other foods just to wrap up our little mini section here on planting food for ducks. Other popular ones that people talk about will be Milo or soybeans. I think I've mentioned already once or twice, soybeans are kind of a non-starter for me just because they rot so quickly. And they do not produce very much food. They are actually less than millet. So the list of foods that I referred to, they're actually the lowest producing. Now, if you have a farmer that'll let you pick soybean field, go for it, right? You might get some. I've hunted and killed ducks over a flooded soybean field, so I know it can be done. It's just not a first choice, or it's not even a choice at all for me for planting something specifically for ducks. I just don't think it has really any pluses. Any pluses it might have, you can find something else that has that plus better. And I think it can be a little more expensive as well, but I really don't know. And the other one is Milo. We planted some Milo. I think it's also referred to as sorghum. We planted some up the hill last year for dove hunting. We got it in kind of late. The problem, at least with the variety we had, it was 10 feet tall, and it didn't fall over until February or something like that. Now, we didn't have a real cold winter. We didn't really get any snow. But if you plant it, you can't knock it down. And if that seed is 6, 7, 8, 10 feet tall in the air, ducks aren't going to get to it. And I know that they plant it in some of the impoundments on the state land around here, and I seem to see the same outcome. This really tall plant with seeds way up in the air. I don't know. Maybe they're falling and I just don't know it. But I don't plan on really planting any Milo out here, nor do I plan to plant some soybeans. So that's it. That's my thoughts on planting groceries for ducks. I hope you guys have enjoyed this kind of little 3-part mini-series within our larger series of managing and planning your waterfowl impoundment. If you have any questions at all, I certainly want to hear them. By all means, please leave me a comment below. Tell me about it. Give me your question. And if it's kind of an elaborate enough question or answer, I may just come out here and shoot a whole video just to answer your question. I think that would be pretty fun. So please give me a thumbs up. Give me that subscribe if you have not already. That really helps me grow my channel. And even just a little comment like that was cool or that was stupid. I don't care. Whatever. Just leave a comment. It helps. So that's about it. That's it for now. And thanks for watching. I'm Bruce. And as always, this is Fowl Play Outdoors.